as I said before, I a lot of ways to get into tech. One of them
Mhm.
was self-learning. I'm gonna do this courses, from different sources, from different learning platforms, and try to apply to some junior jobs out there. That was one of the other. Another one was True Knowledge and True similar that pretty much supply the same, and looking at the curriculum knowledge, looking at all the reviews in LinkedIn and talking to actually the people that work in those places. I spoke with Val from Knowledge. She's amazing. She was in touch with her since the beginning, even before, maybe 6 months before I made that actually
Wow.
change. And so now we have like this amazing friendship, and she was there for me since the beginning, and providing information, providing feedback from other people, explaining really clearly and in a transparent way how it works.
Hello and welcome to the Pybites podcast, where we talk about Python, career, and mindset. We're your hosts. I'm Julian Sequeira.
And I am Bob Beldebos. If you're looking to improve your Python, your career, and learn the mindset for success, this is the podcast for you. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Pybites podcast, everyone. This is Julian. I'm not here with Bob. I'm actually here with a special guest today named JP Chaib. He's joining us from here in Sydney, so it's nice to have another Australian here. Very excited. Now, before I introduce JP or he introduces himself, I'll just let you all know that this is an episode where I'm going to talk, it is mindset related. There is some tech, okay, so don't just turn it off already. But JP has a fantastic story of moving from a sort of non-tech role into a tech role. And this to me is a special story that I just love sharing, because I think a lot of people right now need to hear that these things are possible, that the coding world, the tech world is something that they can get into. And that's why I love sharing stories like this. So JP, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Julian. I appreciate the chance of joining this project of yours, Bob. And yeah, I'm JP. Actually, Joao Pedro Chaib. JP became my Aussie name. João, it's impossible to come out of their mouth, but yeah, it's JP. It works just fine for me.
Yeah.
Uh, as you said, I don't hold a bachelor in computer science or anything. I do have a bachelor in engineering, mechanical engineering to be more precise, and I got the bachelor in a university back in Brazil, where I was born, in my hometown, Belo Horizonte. And after that, I scrambled through a couple of industries, manufacturer industry, and then after arriving in Brazil, in Australia, I went to the construction industry to get that PR, to get that visa. It was a means to an end.
Hmm.
Uh, and once I got that PR, I had a chance to actually think about my career and what I wanted for the few years ahead of me. And the obvious choice for me was coming to tech.
Yep.
So yeah, I searched a lot of ways to make that change, to make that transition to tech.
Hmm.
And I ended up finding Knowledge, which is a company that provides training for web development, and also works with you to get professional experience right after the trainings end. So that's what I am right now. I graduated in the accelerator tech program from Knowledge
Yep.
in, what was it, September 2022.
Yep.
And 2023 I was already working in tech. Right now I'm working for the government,
Mm.
an agency called Revenue New South Wales,
Yep.
and we collect a revenue in behalf of the state government, and also distribute that to other services,
Yep.
uh, police, education, fire firemen, museums, all kind
Yep.
of infrastructure, grants. And right now I'm working a couple of different platforms, developing and writing code in the agency. Yeah.
That's cool, man. So that's the end of the podcast. You've covered off everything, and
That's it. It's pretty much.
so, question: you work for revenue. Do you get to keep any of the revenue?
I don't, unfortunately. Well, so I am a citizen. I'm almost a citizen. So yeah, somehow
Yeah,
a small fraction of it comes on my way too. Yeah.
comes back to you in a different way. Yeah, nice. So look, that's a wonderful story in a nutshell, and I really appreciate you sharing that for background. One thing I'll just clarify for everyone is this company that you worked with, Knology, that you were a client student, through.
Yeah.
They're a
Employee.
Sydney-based,
Yeah.
employee. Yep, they're
Yeah.
a Sydney-based company here in Australia, and I got to meet some of their team over the past year, and they're just wonderful humans. And when they shared your story with me, JP, I was like, I gotta meet this guy. And selfishly, it's just nice to have Australian people in this industry that I can talk with.
Yeah.
But I do have to mention one thing: it's not Python. What language are you using?
It's not. Yeah. Or the curriculum is focused on web development. So, JavaScript, Java, APIs in
Yeah,
Nest.js, Spring Boot. It's really focused on web development, which is really good, SQL as
yeah.
well. But, in revenue, when I make the transition and start working the project, they gave me a lot of support to upskill myself. And I did one of the courses that I did taught through these 1.5 years that I'm there was a
Mhm.
machine learning course on TAFE, and it's purely Python. All the ML models, all the machine learning models they'll use it's through school in Python. And hey, I must say, my first impressions of Python is the best. It's such a versatile language, isn't it?
Nice
And
save.
I'm not speaking just out of my mouth. I do believe that.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, so many of the technologies that you're using and that you're talking about, people who are learning Python end up using them too, right? Knowing, and some of them are very foundational, using APIs, talking to databases, and making these requests and so on. They're quite universal. Every language just has their different syntax for talking to them, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just want to get that out there first and foremost. And Knology, that it's a wonderful place, and they're doing cool things for people, underrepresented groups. I love it, and that's why I really like highlighting what they do when I can. But back to you and
Yeah.
your story. So, as you alluded to or mentioned, you made a move across the planet, right? It's
Yeah.
not just changing jobs as well, right? You went from an engineering background to the tech role, but you also moved countries. You certain mindset that comes along with this kind of growth and these changes. So,
So
can
true.
you do me a favor and just for the audience here, what kinds of stuff, what kinds of things ran through your head that made you say, "This is something I'm going to do," and also maybe I shouldn't. And then what pushed you through all of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, when I was living in Brazil and I was working for a really well-known multinational,
Mhm.
international company there in the manufacturing industry. And just after I graduated, I received my bachelor degree. And with that bachelor degree, I had a chance. Australia government actually, the Home Affairs actually provides a year and a half full work
Mhm.
experience visa for those that had graduated in engineering back in my uni. So I thought about the chance, and I had a time. I had a deadline actually
Mm.
to get that visas, right? So I had 2 years after I graduated to apply to that visa. So that played its part. It was in my mind, should I go? Shouldn't I go? I'm gonna miss the chance. I'm Am I gonna regret when I'm get older, to stay in Brazil and not pursue that possible dream? I had some overseas experience while in uni, and it was amazing. I went to
Mhm.
Belgium for a year there, and oof, it was the best year of uni for me. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna chase that adrenaline again.
Yep.
Yeah, so that played a big part of it in it.
Yep.
Uh, and then of course, a lot of fears around, am I gonna get the job? am I going to be able to communicate this Aussie slang, and in the second language? And I said to myself, there's only way to know, the only one way to know, and it's doing it, right? With it came, financial concerns as well. I did good to myself in those 2 years that I was after uni. So I managed to, get some savings there. So I was financially prepared for what was coming. I didn't plan for COVID though. And
Really?
and
Oh
yeah, I
man.
didn't. I didn't, I didn't have my bunker
Yeah.
built. Yeah, stocking food and everything now.
And
So toilet paper, lots of it.
yeah.
Who know? Eh? So yeah, the primary fear for coming overseas was financially.
Yeah.
And then after I came here, I found out that opportunities were all around, especially for engineers. There's a lot of engineers. There's a lot of engineers from my uni coming to Sydney and to Australia. So there are also this community support that I had that helped me. You should chase these visa. You should chase, this kind of industry because there's a lot of opportunity there, and they are paying for the visa. They are sponsoring. That made much easier. But in the end, Julian, I think it's resilience. You have to believe yourself.
Yep.
You have to look at a goal and nothing else for a while at least. But yeah, resilience for sure. And when I
Cool,
moved
right.
to, yeah, and
There you
that's
go.
the country moving, right? The change,
Yeah.
but changing careers that came with different fears. Will I
Yeah.
be a good professional? Will I enjoy actually sitting down and coding since I've been doing such a, let's say, more active in management and, with a lot of pressure from peers,
Yep.
suppliers, clients, and yeah, different fears for different problems. Yeah, I'd say.
I like that. Different fears for different problems. Yeah. So one thing I want to jump on that you sort of addressed at the very start of that is you had to essentially look at the opportunity cost of either staying in Brazil or taking a chance and going overseas. Now,
Yeah,
the same sort of mindset comes to that career decision as you're talking about, right? What's the opportunity cost? Do I stay in this engineering role where I'm doing these things? You said the pressures, the clients, the deliverables, and so on. Also, a little more physically active than a coding job, which is
yeah,
great. Um, or what's the opportunity cost of not pursuing something like coding, which is something you had an interest in the first place? Um, I really like that, and that resilience and focus, and like you said, focusing on the goal, at least for a little bit, making that all-encompassing vision is
yeah,
super important. And it's something we constantly talk about on this podcast. We're saying, what is your goal? Let's work backwards from there on what you need to actually do to attain it. And I love that you thought outside the box because you could still do those things in Brazil. Heck, you could do it
yeah,
in North America, which is arguably closer
yeah.
than
9 hours
Brazil.
from my
But
city. Yeah,
yeah, not 24 hours worth of flying across in weird
exactly.
directions, right? So I love that you were thinking outside of the box, and that you you know if I was to talk to, I guess, the average person that we speak to, and I say, why don't you consider moving overseas where you could probably find a software developer job much easier in, say, let's say Belgium, because you mentioned Belgium before. It might be easier to find one there than in, San Francisco, where the demand is, there's so many people going for those roles.
Yeah,
People wouldn't even consider that. So I love
yeah,
that you thought outside the box and said, screw it, I'm going to do it. Why not?
yeah.
And there was that
Yeah,
whole balance.
exactly that, Julian.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because making that transition here in Australia, uh, and I'm talking financially speaking, it's much easier because all the tax brackets and because your tax a bit less if you're making less money, your quality of life and your lifestyle doesn't change that much. You can keep doing the stuff that you're doing since the currency worth a lot,
Mm.
in country itself. And if you your wage, your annual salary, you can still pretty much do most of the things. It's gonna be hard to save, of course, but your lifestyle can remain the same. Back in Brazil, that big cut in a salary can cost you a
Yep.
lot of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
But
crazy.
also, when you spoke about looking at the cost that change,
Mhm.
that cost comes financially, but it also comes with, on your health, in
Yeah.
your quality of life too. Working on tech has a greater flexibility,
Mhm.
and on the long run, on the long term, thinking about, building a family with my partner, being there for my kids, in the
Mhm.
future, that also came as an advantage, for me to pick the tech industry too.
No, I love that. Yeah, those are things that I think that's a lot of forward thinking there that most people may not consider, right? With when picking tech as a position or as a career, I should say. Um, so speaking of that then and transition into tech, right? So you're saying a whole bunch of different fears and challenges. And so talk us through, how did you find Knology as the place to be to then, learn the skill set you needed to break in? And it talks through all the fears and worries that came with that moving from the mechanical engineering role.
Sure. Yeah. So as I said before, I a lot of ways to get into tech. One of them
Hmm.
was self-learning. I'm gonna do this courses, from different sources, from different learning platforms, and try to apply to some junior jobs out there. That was one of the other. Another one was True Knowledge and True similar that pretty much supply the same, and looking at the curriculum knowledge, looking at all the reviews in LinkedIn, and talking to actually the people that work in those places. I spoke with Val from Knowledge. She's amazing. She was in touch with her since the beginning, even before, maybe 6 months before I made that actually
Wow.
change. And so now we have like this amazing friendship, and she was there for me since the beginning, and providing information, providing feedback from other people, explaining really clearly and in a transparent way how it works.
In just 12 weeks, Pybites elevates you from Python coder to confident developer. Build real-world applications, enhance your portfolio, earn a professional certification showcasing tangible skills, and unlock career opportunities you might not even imagine right now. Apply now at pybit.ds/pdm.
So I ended up choosing Ology, which I found through a simple Google search. You know,
Okay.
uh, yeah, they do have some other media like LinkedIn, for instance. They are there, and you can find them there. But I found them through Google, and then I got in
Yep.
touch with them. And I consider university too,
Hmm.
which will be a greater cost, and it would take much longer for me to be ready for the market as a professional. Although I do believe that it will be amazing, to learn some fundamentals and some basic on computer science.
Yep.
This is something that I feel that I lack still, without that background.
Hmm.
But hey, there's always time to learn. There's
Yep.
always places where you can go to learn. It's really matter that you're working in a place that you can do everything else, which is the internet. You
Yeah.
can withdraw information for your work. You can withdraw information for yourself, and yeah,
Yep. No, that's cool. I love it. And that's a strong point you make there. So you don't have a comp sci or computer science degree, right?
yeah,
But through applied learning, through building, because when you were with Knology, you were building a capstone project, I believe, with another group, if my understanding is correct. Um, and then you're able to those skills through that applied learning and be positioned and get the job at revenue. And I think that's some sort of inspiration that people need to hear, because one of the greatest barriers we see of people coming into the tech space and the Python space and coding in general is I don't have a computer science degree. I don't have that piece of paper. I'll never get it. And certainly even the employers out there listening and watching this say the same thing. Oh, you need to have a comp sci degree to be able to write a single line of code. And I think that's a fallacy that people need to just get over, because with the change in technology, with, as you said, the internet and AI now as well,
Yeah,
you can learn to code and not have that comp sci piece of paper. Now, don't get me wrong, as you said, there is something to get from that degree. There is that
most definitely.
deeper understanding of how things work, and that's fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't write code, and you can't write good
Exactly.
code and good quality code. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
And an example of that,
Oh yeah, go please.
Julian, it's all my colleagues from knowledge. You have people with a background in HR, people with a background with no background sometimes, young fellas there, young colleagues that, came straight off, working fast food chains
Yep.
and, made the transition. They got well with the tools, with the language. They, have that all logical mind and can write
Yep.
code as better than anybody else.
Yep. I'm with you. I mean, one of the people currently going through our coaching program called PDM, he's a carpenter by trade. I was chatting with him this morning, having a check-in, and we were talking about carpentry, building houses and woodworking, and he's making that transition because he just loves coding, and it's exciting to him, and funnily enough, much more creative than an outlet for him than the carpentry business now. So it's just cool. A lot of other roles have kind of similar mindsets that you can utilize in the coding realm or in the tech industry. So we were
Most
talking
definitely.
about how as a carpenter is laying out projects, he's figuring out the pieces, doing all this PM project management stuff before he builds. And that's kind of what we do as developers. Before you build an application, you have to lay out the whole foundation, how it's going to work, the pieces you need, and so on. So I think that's really cool. And that's one of the reasons why Knowledge spoke to me when I was talking about what they did. I thought it was super cool. They're taking people of different walks of life and getting them working together as well, and building web apps and whatever. So I thought that was very cool. So now I'm going to ask you a tricky one. There had to have been
I'm
things
ready.
you actually, I got to ask you this one as well. When did you move to Australia? How long ago?
There was four in half years, 4.5 years. Yeah,
Okay.
March 2020. Yeah.
I'm super impressed as you were describing your time with Knowledge. You said young fellas, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's such an Aussie thing to say. Well done. You can stay.
Thank you. Got my
Um,
citizenship right there.
yeah, there's your citizenship done and dusted. All right, so talking of time learning the language. Now, this is the next obstacle a lot of people have that we talk to. That's why I want to touch on this. There would have been things that you didn't understand. There would have been times where you were just like, I just don't get it. You're bashing your head against the wall. So tell me about that, and how did you push through, or just say, I actually know, I'm going to put words in your mouth. What did you do?
Yeah. Look, Julian, there are a lot of complex concepts in coding. If you
Yep.
go to, object-oriented programming languages, you get, all that polymorphism and abstractions, and it can be tough to consolidate as a basic knowledge.
Yep.
It takes experience, you have to do it and do it probably, to build an interface and an interface to work well in a way that is supposed to be an interface. You have to do it a couple of times, I reckon. Not only that, but the moment that you start understanding, algorithms and their efficiency, getting a IO notation and understanding the, time notation and memory notation, that can be a little bit tough, especially if you don't have a mathematical background, right?
Hmm.
What I have is a log n, and why is a log n, and why it takes longer if I do a for loop here again.
Yeah.
That's the base. And then you get to the tools that already apply all those concepts in a nutshell, and you don't see it because in the background, uh, authentication and token authentication through APIs. It can get really, really complex if you don't have the tools to see what's happening in the background yet, and access the network and see, okay, that's my request. My request, it's bringing this head and this body. Okay, now I'm to understand. And what you have to do is it's get your hands dirty. That's what for me. That's why it's so important, those capstones projects that knowledge proposed. And you learn by failing. You fail once, you
It's a good
fail
one.
twice. Yeah, and in some point you're gonna achieve. I swear to you, you're gonna feel amazing after you make it. And if you do, that means that tech is for you. If you get that thrill, if you get the adrenaline pump and say, yes, this is my website, it's online. But yeah, I would say for me, authentication part of it's still hard, you know. But again, it's out of experience and always going to senior developers and speaking to them with an open heart. There are a lot of good staff in the industry, a lot of capable, understanding, passionate about tech as well. So if you share the passion on tech, they're gonna open their hearts as well. They're gonna say, "Hey, you know what, young fella, sit down next to me. Let's work this out." And you see them coding, you understand a bit more about best practices, and yeah, you get your work done.
Oh man, you're speaking my language. You may as well be speaking Python. This is great because so everyone listening and watching this is completely unscripted, right? So I couldn't have imagined you would the two things you touched on, right? Learn by failing, or learn by building, right? So you got to build those projects. You got to get into it, get your hands dirty, and start coding, and fail upwards.
Yes.
And the second thing, engaging those senior to you. I mean, if you think about it, how does a kid learn? They learn from their parents. They learn from the people around them, where they watch what they do, they emulate, they figure it out
Yeah.
through failing, falling over. Same thing with us as developers. And if you have those senior developers around you, capitalize on that luck, that blessing that you have those people there to talk to, bounce ideas off, and get them to code review your stuff and everything. I think those are two super valuable tips. And okay, here's one I'm going to throw at you. If people don't have a senior developer immediately around them, what would you suggest they could do to find that person?
Yeah. Well, sometimes not even a person, is it? Sometimes it's an AI that can help you out with those and those blockers out there, which use it as you can. I'm using it weekly, to solve problems and bring better solutions and better and clean code to my reviews. But if you like talking to a person as well, communities in the internet, they are there and they are rich. Overflow, Stack Overflow, LinkedIn itself. You can find someone and try to engage. But there are so many forums on the internet, and forums sometimes specialize. I bet they already spoke about forums in Python here, and there are probably many. The same goes for Java, SQL. People that have the knowledge, a lot of them wants to share the knowledge too, and when they see it, someone with a question in a forum, they get itchy and they need to give the best solution out there. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, Julian.
Well, and if you didn't know, there's a Pybites community that's
yes,
like
right there.
got message boards and forums, and you can ask your questions, and everyone loves jumping in and helping and sharing. So I'll throw that in there as a little plug. Thanks, man. No, that's great. And that's a really good tip. Just go and seek these communities, because that's where you build these connections. The amount of people that we come across in what we do that they're the only coder that they know. They're the only person who has a passion for Python or Java or whatever. None of their friends care. That's me, by the way. None of my friends like to code. or my closest friends that I hang out with on the weekends and stuff, none of them like to code. So I built a freaking community because I didn't have one. So no, that's a super valuable tip. I think go and seek the community if you are um, finding it tough doing this solo, right? AI can help, just can't give you that mateship,
It's true.
the friendship that
Yeah,
goes with it.
the French,
Not
exactly.
not yet, anyway.
You cannot drink a beer with ChatGPT. Not yet.
That's true.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, exactly. Not yet. I mean, we can and we should go do that
Oh, most
one of these
definitely, Julian.
days. Yeah.
Oh,
Probably
I'm
the
waiting
step.
on that invite, by the way. I want to go to Central Coast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You have to come up
Yeah.
here then. They're nice. I like that. You
Yeah.
can do that. Yeah, all right. Well, that's awesome. So I appreciate all the insight you've shared here, JP. And we've intentionally, everyone talked about the tech that JP uses at work because that is confidential stuff. So just so we did that. We just don't want to talk about its government, that sort of thing. And it's my Australian government. So I live here.
It's
Don't
tough
come
to
knocking on my
hide.
door, okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, don't look under the sheets here. But anyway, this has been so insightful and so helpful and inspiring, I think, to hear how you've made that journey, not just across the planet, but from your career. You're in a wonderful job, you're happy, you're enjoying, there's growth, you have time to learn and grow every week, which is freaking amazing as well. If you were to give a tip, I guess, for everyone as we wrap this up, and we will go to books in a second, everyone, don't worry about that. But if there's a tip for people, who are maybe on the edge, kind of thinking, I should get into tech, I don't know, or if they're even just fearful about making a decision like this, what would you say?
That's a cool one, Julian. I would say two things. First one, I would say, don't be hard on yourself. Don't yourself because you couldn't solve something right on spot, right
Mhm.
there. So don't be hard on yourself. Every day it's a win. And the second thing is never stop learning. And that's for me. I'm not sure if this applies to everybody, but when I'm learning, I get humble,
Mm,
and that's a skill that humility makes you be transparent with your colleagues, your peers, and gather more information. Because the more I don't know that you say, the more that you know. That's how I think.
yep.
So I'm doing this whole learning on in
Okay.
augustexpert.com, and it's really good. It has a bunch of code problems there, that can be used for interviews as well.
Oh, nice.
Something similar to Cold Wars.
Yep.
uh, yeah, it's really good. They have their own, browser coding IDE, and you can do all your stuff there. You can set your tests and everything. So never stop learning. Uh,
That's cool.
I think the industry needs us to never stop learning as well.
Uh, one, I love the tips. We always push that constant growth in learning. In fact, actually, one of our clients, again, I just met with another client before this podcast, and he said to me, "What's been inspiring about PDM and going through our coaching?" He goes, "It's new to not know." So for him, he goes, there was a stagnation with the previous role and the industry he was in, and so being back in an environment where he doesn't know something is, new to him, and that's exciting, and that's what's keeping him going. So if you find yourself
Yeah,
in that situation, it's time for growth, right? And it's good
yeah,
that you're growing. So that's really cool. Um, the other thing I'll say, which is funny, I think some people are going to be giggling to themselves as they're listening to this. We have a coding platform, exactly what you're talking about, but for
hey, I'm gonna out,
yeah.
Julian.
I'll give you access. Don't worry about it. We'll sort that
Yes.
out after.
Oh, awesome.
But that's for Python, right? So don't worry. It's just cracking me as we're talking through this stuff. So that's wicked, man. I really appreciate you sharing all this insight and being an inspiration to people. And the people around you, I'm sure, are very inspired by the things that you're doing and the journey you've taken. Um, what's if people want to chase you down, look you up, chat more about what it is you're doing and the decisions you've made and how you did it, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me in LinkedIn, Julian. I'm there. Uh, write on my name, Joao Pedro Chaib. It's hard to spell, so maybe
We'll have
I
a
sent
link.
through. Yeah,
Put a link in the
we
description.
put a link. That's a good idea. And I'm in GitHub as well.
Oh, cool.
Even though I've been working in different Git for my current job, so you won't see a lot of commits there, unfortunately.
That's
But
right.
I have some projects there, and yeah,
And they're
GitHub
public.
and they're all public.
Ooh,
Everything that I did
very
there is
nice.
public. Yeah.
That's cool.
I
That
have
takes
nothing to
guts, man.
hide, Julian.
Well, you can't
For now.
for now. That's
For
just in the
now.
private repos. Yeah. Um,
Exactly. Nobody will know.
no, that's cool. We'll have these things in these links in the notes for people. And look, Bob and I, we wrap up every podcast with a question about what you're reading. So if you are reading anything, what is it?
Yeah, I'm actually reading two. Well, I'm reading books at a time.
Mhm.
This one is a gift from my brother-in-law. It's
Ooh,
Carlos Gracie biography, uh,
cool.
which is the creator of BJJ in Brazil. I do not practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu myself, but he's a legend.
Wow.
He put Brazil where it is in mixed martial arts, and even helped judo to get that publicity, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's known to worldwide. So I'm
Yeah.
reading his biography, which is amazing. And the second one, which reading, because you cannot finish this, it's How to Reassess Your Chess, the fourth edition, by Jeremy Silman.
Ooh.
Uh, Funny enough, both books they share the concept of not getting your butt kicked all the time. So I was getting my butt kicked by by a couple of friends in chess a lot. So I say, you know what?
Wow.
I'm gonna learn a bit more, which is amazing. It's really good. It's there. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. It's funny, quite that you say that because Bob and I are both talking about chess these days. He's just started playing a
Uh,
lot with his kids. I've got the Harry Potter Lego chess set.
oh
So I've been trying to
wow.
teach my kids, but probably should start with a traditional set because it's hard to tell the pieces
True.
apart. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing, a goal that I've set with Bob and I is if we, reach the success that we're looking for by December this year, we're going to buy ourselves these remote chess sets. And I don't know if you've seen them,
Yeah.
but they're these chess sets that you each keep one, and then the move I make on mine replicates on his. It's connected
Oh,
by the
that's
internet.
cool.
And so we can play chess the other side of the planet, right? So
Oh,
that's
that's really
our
cool.
I mean, we could just use an app, but screw that.
Ah,
We want to see
yeah.
definitely
No,
want
no,
to
you want a bishop coming out of nowhere. Yeah.
exactly. I want to see
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
they even simulate the checkmate with the king falling over and stuff.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, it's
wow.
pretty cool.
Oh, that's fun.
So I can't wait to do that. That's cool, man. I like I'm currently reading, I don't have it here with me, but I don't know. Have you heard of H.P. Lovecraft?
HP loved.
Yeah.
I have not.
If you're into it's like old school horror from like the early 1900s when there was no horror TV shows and movies, so it was all
Yeah.
written, and their version of horror is very, psychological and stuff that would creep them out. But for us, we'd be like, what? That's just a G-rated TV show. But his writing, H.P. Lovecraft, inspired so much horror, like Stephen King and stuff that was done that's more modern. And I've always wanted to read his stuff, and I found a book that was like a
Yeah.
collection of stories from that he wrote, and I'm reading through it, and it's not easy. Some of it's quite kind of boring, but I'm like, no,
Yeah. I
I'm gonna read
imagine.
this. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
old, and I'm enjoying it, seeing where certain things are connecting with things from these days and so on. So it's good.
That's
But
really cool. I have read a couple of Sidney Sheldon's. Even though it's
okay,
not a horror movie, it's really suspense and thick suspense. And
yeah,
yeah, I can with that horror and thrill. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not generally a reader. I'm like, no, I want to sleep at night, so give me
Yeah.
some action stuff instead. But all right, look, JP, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for sharing and being so open and candid. I hope you did you enjoy it? Was it good?
I did. I did. That was good. Hey, that's my first podcast ever, Julian.
Oh, nice.
So
You're a natural,
yeah,
man.
thank you.
Just host your own or come co-host with
Hey,
me any day. It's fine. But yeah. All right, man. Well, look, thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, we'll see. I'll see you down in Sydney. You pop up here for a beer. We'll do that.
Definitely.
All right.
Let's do
Thanks,
that.
man.
Thanks
Cheers.
again, Julian.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. Cheers. All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. To hear more from us, go to Pybites/friends. That is pybit.es/friends, and receive a free gift just for being a friend of the show.
And to join our thriving community of Python programmers, go to pybites/community. That's pybit.es/community. We hope to see you there and catch you in the next episode.